Hi, and welcome to another episode of What Makes You Shine. My name is Steph Lloyd, and what makes me shine is to help others find their shine. In this show, I'm gathering for you amazing people who do just that. So today, I am privileged to speak to my good friend and fellow Stone Foundation coach, Sefik Villasante. Sefik is a coach, an author, and an inspirational speaker. He is passionate about breaking down the taboos associated with poor mental health. He has drawn upon his real-life experiences of his own depression and suicide attempt and how he overcame this hugely challenging period in his life. So hi, Sefik, and thanks for being here with me today.
Hi, Steph. Blimey, I felt quite choked up with that introduction. Yeah, that is me. Believe it or not, that is me. That's the old me, and that's the new me as well, wrapped up in one. So yeah, hi, and hope you're having a great day. And thanks for having me on. I mean, hallowed company here, so brilliant. Thank you.
Thank you for coming. So tell us your story, Sefik.
Well, in a nutshell, I am Sefik Villasante. I'm a coach, an author, and a speaker. I'm an author of this book, There's No Shame, but I'm also the survivor of 2 suicide attempts. That's right. I said it as confidently as saying 20 pounds of diesel on pump number 3. And I'm passionate, as you said, about breaking down those stigmas and taboos associated with poor mental health. I think we all know and accept that 1 in 4, 1 in 3 people will struggle with a mental health condition. And I think the important thing is to realize that mental health conditions are not just people in a dark room rocking from side to side. Mental health conditions can come when you lose that winning lottery ticket, when your car fails the MOT, when you lose a fortune on crypto, when you get those energy bills come in. That's detrimental mental health. Good mental health can be smelling the daffodils, seeing the orchids, seeing the crocuses coming up, a little bit of sexy time, having that first glass of white wine, having those memories that last forever. That's good mental health. So we're all able to benefit and negatively have the bad benefits of good and bad mental health. And the more we talk about it, the more we open up about it, then there'll be a greater understanding of it. So yeah, I'm passionate about showing people it's not just people like me who reach such lows in their life that is classed as poor mental health. You know, we're all susceptible to it, and we can all pick ourselves up from it, from those dark places.
Yeah, and that's really knowing that there is a light. This is sometimes, you know, what you have to go through to open up to what's coming, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, I think why I often say that the closing of one door was the opening of another. So in 2006, I was my first attempt in my life. Trigger, if you don't want to listen to it, just cover your ears for 5 seconds. I put a belt around my neck and dropped from the loft hatch. Luckily, I survived. My guardian angel was saying, no, it's not your time, Sefik. But I went another 10 years working in the same industry for the same business, working up, like, latterly, it was 18 hours a day, basically doing the same thing over and over again, thinking the harder I work, the more money I work, the more accolades I'd get, the happier I'd be. Well, the harder I worked, I got more money, but the unhappier I became and became and became. It doesn't work like that. So again, in 2016, trigger, cover your ears by all means, I drove into a wall at 50 miles an hour. Both occasions were on Friday nights. They were 10 years apart, and it was like a click. I hadn't thought about it, hadn't premeditated it. Something inside my head said, I can't do this anymore. And then in 2016, I was 42, and as a 42-year-old fella, it's like, what on earth do I do? I've lost my identity, I've lost my career, I've lost my car parking space, I've lost the title on my desk, I've lost the accolade of being a manager. How on earth do you start? But then I kind of introduced myself to the Stone Foundation and started thinking about positive living, positive thinking, positive affirmations, living my life rather than just experiencing it, actually living it on a level which was like, God, I can hear running water now. I can see the seasons changing. And I realized, in actual fact, the universe, life had said, that chapter of your life is closing. Here's the door opening. Now it's for you to take hold and walk through and basically go, so what's out there for you? And it is tough. It is tough. But like, you know, with the foundation and other bits and pieces that we do, the more you surround yourself with like-minded people, the more nurtured and your ability becomes uncontrollable to look and find those avenues that we're destined for. So yeah, it's all good. It's all good. Life is a journey, and we're living it day to day.
Yeah, it becomes a habit, doesn't it? Thinking positively or thinking negatively, whichever way we fall into, and like you said, it happens to everybody.
Totally.
And it's a habit that we can learn to get out of, and a change of perspective, I suppose, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Because yeah, in your dark time, I suppose the perspective, like you didn't smell the daffodils. It wasn't.
You got it. I mean, the thing, like you said, one thing that we learned was that, or we learn, or anybody can learn, if you repeat something over 28 days, it becomes a habit. It's as simple as that. So for 28 days, I'd sit over in that sofa over there in the east wing of my massive mansion, because obviously I'm super successful. No, I joke, but I used to sit on the sofa over there, other end of the house there. And I'd look out the window and I'd be like, I'm on prescription drugs, I'm on nutty pills, but my prescription drugs work for me. I'm sat here and I'm thinking, what on earth has happened to me? But then all of a sudden I realized that I'd actually pressed stop. I'd pressed pause on my previous life. I was now unwell. I was dealing with chronic depression and anxiety. You know, I just tried to take my life for a second time. But I noticed to see, it was April the 26th, I did it for the second time. And I noticed in that month that the actual tree outside the front of the house had gone from tiny little buds to opening up to leaves, and then the blossom coming out. I thought, bloody hell, in 10 years, I've never noticed that tree do that. So it's all about perspective, but that habit became there because I sat there and I actually looked after myself. I was still, I was calm, I'd taken myself away. And I liked that. And then I started to go in the back garden and think, bloody hell, I'm actually now listening to the running water in the koi pond. I'm seeing these daffodils. I'm smelling fresh cut grass. I created that habit of acknowledgement, of experiencing, of sensing,
of
rather
gratitude.
than just existing. Gratitude, absolutely. There's so much out there that we're lost in the chaos. Not knocking mainstream media, not knocking social media. I'm not, because we all need it, but be selective in what you choose to listen to and hear.
Absolutely. It is as much your diet as what you eat, what you listen to, what goes in your head, because it's not just your conscious mind, it's your subconscious mind. So all that stuff that's going in without really noticing, like repeatedly happening, like we get stuck, you know, and then we can't focus on the good stuff, you know. Sue always says, she said, you know, look around the room and, you know, tell me what's green. So you do that, you count everything that's green, then she says, well, close your eyes, now tell me what was red. You know, I think she does it the other way around, but doesn't matter. You know, but then tell me what was red. You haven't focused at all on the red, you've only just focused on what you were looking for. So it is what we're looking for, and sometimes when we get into this habit of looking at things in a negative way, then we are going to find a lot of things wrong, you know. Because if you don't mind me saying, you know, you're happily married and you have 2 children, you had what would appear to others like a beautiful life, right?
Yeah. I mean, that was it. It's like you mentioned that. It's like I was literally like a game show host. So if you're old enough to remember Come On Down, The Price Is Right with Leslie Crowther, I was like, come on down. I was motivating the guys and the girls. I was used each and every day to basically get the best out of people. And I would turn a switch. It'd be like this game show host, and I'd finish what I'd have to do, come into my office, close the door, and I'd be like, that other person vanished. I was desperately unhappy. My social media was always, I'm flying from here, I'm doing that, pictures of my beautiful kids, my beautiful wife, and myself. And it'd be like, what's portrayed is far removed from the real world. I think you often say about Robin Williams, you know, Jumanji and all that sort of stuff. You look at the eyes. He brought so much happiness, so much love, so much joy, so much laughter, but his eyes just look vacant and empty. And there's all the other celebrities, isn't there, that we can say that have got so much, but they're lacking something. And I think for me, the lack was, as you mentioned before, about conscious and subconscious. I was basically living a subconscious life. My life, every moment of the day working in that industry, was frustration, was fatigue, was animosity, was anger, was hate, I was full of it. Everybody's problem became my problem. So I consumed it on a subconscious level. So every time I got up in the morning, I was faced with problems. They weren't my own problems. They were everybody else's problems. And that's how I learned to live for those 10, 11 years, well, 14 years. Eventually, I was with the company. And then sitting on that sofa over there, I started to live consciously. And I started to, like I said, experience different things. And it takes a long time, Steph. It took me 18 months to get better, to tip the scales in my favor. And Yeah,
Because
Christ.
at the beginning, it's so hard. It's so hard to
Oh,
change those thoughts the minute you wake up. Because,
yeah,
yeah, if you have the same thoughts every morning, you're going to make the same choices. And as soon
absolutely.
as you make the same choices, that's going to lead to the same behaviors. And then
Totally.
the same behaviors create the same experiences. And
Yeah,
then the same experiences produce the same emotions. And
absolutely.
we're back in this loop all the
Yeah,
time.
yeah. And you shouldn't beat yourself up, because ultimately, when I was working there for those, I mean, the career, I can't talk about the business and stuff because it's all in the book. Grab yourself a copy of the book. I had to sign an NDA, a non-disclosure agreement. Basically, they paid me off to shut up and not talk about it. That's what I can say about it. But the point is, I was so consumed with how unhappy I was that I went to other people who were unhappy, who reaffirmed how unhappy they were. And I felt like it's okay to be unhappy. So the only answers I ever got were negative. Oh, it is what it is, Sefik. I feel the same. Rather than allowing myself to see a happy person, I'd come home and see my beautiful kids, my beautiful wife. I'd put my kids to bed on the phone, stuck in traffic, saying their prayers. I was never home before 10 o'clock. I was out the door in the morning at 4 o'clock in the morning. So it was like 18-hour days. And as much as you'd come home and you'd give those kids a kiss, and they're fast asleep, I should have in some way been able to go, I have got so much here in this house of mine. But the outside forces were like saying, no, 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 you're spending 18 hours here. The 6 hours you have at home, you're either knackered, showering, trying to force something to eat, trying to have a relationship with your wife who's desperately worried about you, who doesn't want to tell you, Chef, I think you need to take a step back, because society says, you can't do that. You're a man. You have to go out and earn the mortgage, pay the bills, or a wife, whatever it might be. Where in actual fact, you do have choices. You can have balance. You can do multiple streams of income. You can have income from dog walking, gardening, bit of cryptocurrency, speaking, working part-time in Sainsbury's, whatever it is. But you've got to get that balance. Otherwise, you become immersed and you start to live in a subconscious way, which is just full of all that negativity and hate and fear, which consumes you. I'm not consumed by it anymore.
No. So what would you say to somebody who's listening to you now and they're thinking, oh, this is me. What's my first step? Where do I start?
Good question. That's always a good one. You have to acknowledge that you need help. And I don't mean that you're sitting there crazy like Sefik was. I say crazy flippantly. I don't mean it derogatory, but somebody who's really struggling and running and running and running. I ran and ran and ran and ran. I never acknowledged that I needed help. So you have to, number one, acknowledge that I truly need help. Me needs help. You might be signposted by your wife, by your boyfriend, by your girlfriend, by your parents, by your siblings saying, you need to see somebody, you need to sort yourself out, but you need to own that decision. And once you own that decision, you are now accountable to that decision. And then the best thing I always say is, trust me, I did 18 months of NHS groups, CBT, NLP, mindfulness, self-compassion, drawing, took all the prescription drugs, saw the psychiatrist consistently for 18 months to get myself better. I did it all. But the best thing I ever did was talk to like-minded people. I'd sit in a room, and it was so difficult to walk into that. I remember Dean and my wife would literally drive me to these venues, get through that door, Sefik. I said, I can't. I said, please, I'm not leaving you. I'm going to be out here for an hour and a half. I'm not leaving you at all, but you need to get through that door. You walk through that door, then you have to stick a sticky label on, and you have to write your name on it, like a school child. Now, my name, as you might have noticed, is a little bit different, unique, amazing. It's Sefik. Now, I used to look at it and say, oh my Christ, people are going to pull my name apart. In actual fact, it's a conversation starter. So when I had that conversation with people who knew, who related to me, it was like, God, I'm not the only one here struggling with this. So find a like-minded, relatable person who knows exactly how you're feeling. Mothers will only know how a mother feels through childbirth and whatever you go through pulling your hair out, because on a vibration, you know it. I can't tell you how to mother. I can't tell you how to give birth. I can't tell you anything. You carried life for 9 months. It's the most profound thing in your life. So you share and you talk and you relate to people who understand. And that's what I found, that there's a whole plethora of people out there understanding, just like me. And once I found them, I owned the decision, and now I wanted to get improvements. But it does take time. It takes consistency. It takes a will, a drive that you might not think you've got, But I always say that the toughest battles are always burdened by the hardest individuals. Not hard like I'm rock hard, I'm knuckles, but the people who've got the shoulders and the ability to cope with it. And once you give yourself that accolade, you're halfway there.
That's amazing. And also, like you said, there are people that, although they were going through the same thing as you, they were ready for a change.
Yeah.
Because before you were talking to people who reinforced this negativity, but they were not, you know, they hadn't gone to that step to, like you said, to observe, to go, I need help. And that is the hardest thing to go through, I think, for anyone, men or women. But I think men suffer it, you know, even more, because as girls are probably more used to talking and being okay with not being okay. As men, you know, in society have been shown that they've always got to be okay and they should be tough and whatever, stop crying, totally. And all that stuff, you know.
I agree. I mean, I remember back in my place. I mean, my place isn't unique. It was a huge company. It was the biggest company in its industry, in its field. It was phenomenal. Okay, and I was proud to work for it for 14 years. I generally was. If you would cut me, I'd bleed the company. That was the going phrase. But our mental health provision in the workplace was something called Fruity Friday. All right, now it's not saucy videos. It is basically a bowl of fruit and a bottle of water put on the side, and that would help our mental health and well-being. I like to think now that we've moved on somewhat, but this is 2016, where we do have mental health first aiders, we have HR that are dealing with mental health and all the rest of it. However, be it if you're a guy, be it if you're a girl, be it whatever position you are in that company, to come to say to somebody, I'm struggling with the workload, with the hours, with the roles you've given me, would be seen, because that's how it's seen in society, that you're failing, that you're weak, that you don't understand. We all work at different levels. I couldn't do anything that you do. I'd like to give it a go, but I couldn't do like the stuff that you do. And guess some ways you wouldn't be able to do what I do at the pace that I do it. But we learn at different levels. And eventually, if you're harnessed, if you're nurtured, if you're surrounded by people who care, then you're both at the same pace. But society, I'm not knocking society, but how it is perceived is, if you hold your hand up and say, I can't do it, you have failed. No, if you hold your hand up and say, I need help, you have taken a decision that 99% of other people can't do. They haven't got the strength.
Victory.
So applaud yourself. But it took me 2 suicide attempts to realize that I can't do this anymore. Admittedly, I was forced into it because, you know, my cards was, you know, ruined and everything else. However, I generally believe in the universe. I generally believe in somebody there, my guardian angel, saying, no, it's not your time. And by me getting clarity, I realized it's not just me coaching or speaking about my mental health issues, but it's empowering you, whatever, if you're in a crap relationship, crap job, crap financial decision, just stuck in life, at a crossroads in life. Okay. You've reached a point where now you're acknowledging it and you want to see improvements. And that's where the likes of us sort of coaches, us healers, our speakers, us nurturing people will help you on your way. So
and being able to so that leads me to, you know, who you work with, because this is brilliant to now be able to, for you to use this experience and go with, this is the step you take, and it has to be step by step. You can't be there. You have to start at the beginning and just work day by day until you create new habits and create a new life. Because sometimes big changes, like changing your job, is huge. It is possible. But like, you know, like yourself, who's been in the company for 15 years, even going for a new job interview is, you know, a really hard thing to do when, you know, so particularly if you're not feeling great. So, you know, it's having a guide that helps you, that takes you by the hand and go, we're going to do this, or you're going to do this. But how do we do it? So, tell us about your coaching session.
Well, coaching doesn't have to be sitting across a room with somebody going, let me think what you're saying. Coaching could be going to literally the local Starbucks and having a cup of coffee and talking to them. I remember the first time I went to see my first counselor, Dawn Buckley. She was amazing. I was only meant to be there for an hour, but I was there for 3.5 hours. It's all in the book. And I remember Dina frantically calling me, thinking I'd done something stupid on the way there. I just literally had to offload. I talked. She didn't interject. She didn't start scribbling stuff. She just let me talk. So a lot of the times I might get, I'll be honest, I think we spoke about this earlier. I would say 90% of people who come to me are women first, because they are concerned about their partners, whether you're in a gay relationship, whether you're in a straight relationship. 90% of all guys that come to me would have been introduced to me by their spouses, their partners, because there is still this bloody mind block about guys coming to speak to guys. So when I did the book, it was like, well, no one's going to read a book called There's No Shame on the Underground going into London. Well, what's the shame about? So let's get it on the older Amazon Audible and Amazon Kindle, so you can do it secretly, stealthily, you know, kind of thing. So you can have one-to-one sessions with me via, you meet wherever, we can have it online. I can go and do seminar work. I go into businesses ahead of World Mental Health Day, which is the 10th of October every year. So it's coming up next week. I've been asked to speak at a number of events, a number of businesses. Some of these are big businesses, some of these are small businesses, but ultimately they're forward-thinking businesses because they realize they're only as good as their staff. And if you don't acknowledge it, if you don't acknowledge that 1 in 3 people will be struggling, so that's a good proportion of your workforce. You know, I remember we had our first child, and then our second child. Sleep deprivation. Oh my days! It nearly ruined me. You know, I remember it well. First child, and we had colic, and she's amazing. She's nearly 16 now, and she's the best thing ever in my life. But I wasn't prepared for that. So the dynamics of the household, from 2 of you doing what you want to do, whenever you want to do, now to have this baby that's latched onto a breast or crying or wanting to, you know, honestly, women are amazing, okay? And but that was like a big thing that I wasn't prepared for. Now, do I go into work and say, I'm struggling with sleep deprivation because I've got a new child? That would seem, you're weak, you're pathetic.
As us girls would do. We would just go, I've got a new baby, I haven't slept.
Exactly. You know, it's just bizarre how what we deem as an acceptable experience to say I'm struggling and I'm not. You've got a new fridge freezer, because your one went kaput last week. Now, if my mum and dad's fridge freezer had gone kaput last week, it would have been like the bloody Titanic sinking. Or you go, this is the situation I've got. I will get hold of another one. What can I do with this situation? Because the more I get overwhelmed and fearful, the more I won't do it. Like people coming to Sefik for sessions, or even picking up the book, or having the one-to-ones, or seeing me speak. It's like they put obstacles in front of them to say, I don't need to see Sefik. But once you actually start to speak to me and I go, I know exactly where you're coming from. I've had a whole plethora of people who are super successful, people who are failing in their marriages, people who are failing in their careers, or they seem that they're failing. It's like, no, you're not failing. You're actually trying really hard. And to come to see to somebody to speak to, is like, bloody hell, give yourself a break.
Yeah.
You know, who are you trying to impress?
Yeah.
You know, so all sorts, all careers, all financials, all ethnicities, all sexual orientations. 1 in 3 of you will be struggling. And if you feel like you need a help, or just, you know, a bit of inspiration, or a little bit of a talk to, then come to Sefik, come to Steph, go onto YouTube, look at positive stuff. There's plenty of it out there. So yeah.
But again, yeah, it's being able to see that again. It's that perspective, isn't it? If you're not looking at those possibilities, you know. So this is what we're here to remind people: there are options, there are possibility, and yes, it's all right to ask for help. I think that's the big one, isn't it? Being okay with going, okay, I'm not okay, and I'm going to seek help. So
absolutely. Yeah, I just one thing, just to give an idea of how powerful this stuff is, Steph, right? So obviously in 2016, I did what I did for a second time, and I was rock bottom. But between 2016, my wife lost her sister, her mum, and her dad, all within 18 months. So we had three funerals to go to. I was 14 days away from repossession. I was going to food banks. I was going to charities. I was doing a paper round for money. I was doing anything and everything for money. We got scammed out of the settlement I got from work. I got scammed out of it. I had nothing. I was on the floor. Okay. But one thing didn't happen. And that was my mindset didn't revert back to, I'm going to give up and fail. Never did I once think that. So that's how powerful it is. If I can get through that, and my amazing wife can get through that, and my amazing kids, obviously we kept a lot from the kids. Obviously, they had to go to 3 funerals. It was like, it was horrendous time. But not once did I feel like, I can't do this anymore. So that's how powerful getting up in the morning, saying your affirmations, putting it out there to the universe, saying, I am going to get through today. You know, I am feeling amazing. And some days you don't feel amazing when you get up at 4 o'clock to do a paper round and you've got a letter from the mortgage company. And you think, why the f am I doing this? But you know what? You're making a positive step. You're
Yeah.
not being beaten down by it. That's how powerful this stuff is. And I like to think I'm proof in the pudding. We've all got amazing stories, and you can all harness this stuff, you know. And yeah, and that's why I'm so passionate about it, because I haven't got a silver spoon in the mouth. I've been rock bottom and some, but it's all part of my life's journey.
So you took on a new practice of changing your way of thinking, of observing. Oh, you know, I'm having a bad day today. I'm going to change it. You know, tomorrow is going to be better, and it's, you know, but it's being able, you know, to start to be able to do this. I think, you know, the start is then it starts getting momentum, and you start feeling better. But at the really beginning, it's very, very hard. So
it is. Just little steps, little steps. Literally getting up in the morning, having a shave, or drawing the curtains, or getting out of bed. That's a win, because before that you couldn't get out of bed. You wanted to have a duvet day. You know it. I get it. I've been there. Trust me. I was terrified of what people would think about me, because all of a sudden Sefik was now at home in the cul-de-sac. What's he doing here? I've never seen his car here. It's always out 4 in the morning, back at 10 o'clock at night. All the tittle tattle, but a lot of it was all in my mind. I was building these scenarios. I remember going to get my prescriptions for my antidepressants, and I was on the state, so I used to get help from the state, so my prescriptions were paid for. So when I used to give them the chit and my little card to say I'm on the state, which is bad enough as it is for me personally, I would think the dispensers would know I was crackers, and they knew I was a no good, nothing, not working. And then my name come up, Sefik Villasante, room 4, and people could make the assumption in my head that I was an Eastern European. I am from the former Yugoslavia, where my mum is, so I do have that heritage behind me. But everybody was making assumptions about me. In actual fact, Steph, it's all in my head. How many times do people hand out antidepressants? How many times do people see peculiar names? It means a jot to them. But to me, I was building it up. In actual fact, I should have parked that bus and gone, all right, this is your journey. This is the process you're going through, and give yourself a round of applause. So yeah, all good.
And then you went on to write an amazing book.
Well,
show us again
the book. There's no shame.
Slowly, until we can see it. There's no shame. Brilliant.
There is no shame. Absolutely. My book, basically, it was 2018, and we had our 3rd funeral in 18 months. I was still doing it for money, and I didn't have 2 pence to rub together. And I remember working my arse off, trying to scrap together lots and lots of money for whatever I could do. Okay. All within the remits of what benefits I was getting and stuff. But my life had gone from like not worrying about money to literally beans and potatoes. But I'd made a pledge to myself to send my wife to the Sue Stone retreat in 2018 and send myself off fishing in 2018. We lost all this money, and I was like, I had to cancel everything. But then something inside me said, don't cancel Sue Stone retreat, and don't cancel fishing in September. You will get through this. So I scrimped and I saved and I did all this sort of stuff. And eventually I thought, how the hell did I get through that? I know I practiced some resolve. I need to get this down in a book. And literally I started it. I remember penning it in France in 2018, back in September. And by, I think it was Easter 2019, it was done, it was printed and everything. And to me, it was like, it wasn't like, look at me, I'm amazing. It was basically people who won't want to come to Sefik because, you know, they feel ashamed.
Well, it's the first step. It might be the first step. I'll read about somebody else's rather than being in the room with those other people. It's that first step, isn't it?
Yeah. It's just it was a practical guide for me. Obviously, it's pretty much written from 2016 up to the present day, which is 2019 when it was published. Just to people see that it relates to each and every one of them. You know, family, friends, kids, mortgages, money worries, life hits hurdles. How did I get through it? What can you use day to day to get through the same hurdles I got through? And like, you know, I went to libraries, I placed it all in libraries and other businesses in their reading corners. So people can just go, I'll have a read of that. No one needs to know I've got it. And then I thought, well, let's do it on Audible. Let's do it on Kindle. And also it's like, it's like my legacy. When I'm not here, my kids will go, my dad's an author. I never thought I'd be an author. And it's like that. No one can take that. I might be long gone and forgotten, but that book will still be here. And if it helps one person who hasn't got the courage to come and see me, or the strength, not courage, the strength to see me at this moment, then there you go. Grab yourself a copy, because you can take it, and also you can just pass it around. So yeah, it was so cathartic. It didn't take any time at all to do. It just flowed. Like you probably noticed, I speak quite fast. No, I don't. I speak passionately, eloquently. I'm boom, 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 boom. So it just went boom, boom, boom. And the worst thing was my wife ripping me apart on my spell checking. It's like, God, you can't use that word. So I was like, oh my Jesus God. But other than that, I am proud to have written it, and no one will ever take that away from me. And it's all part of the journey, isn't it?
Amazing, amazing.
To another one opening.
Yeah, so thank you for putting that out there, and like, you know, so people can start reading and see that they're not on their own as well. Exactly. You know, this is the thing. And where can we buy the book? Oh, the book,
well, obviously you can get it via Amazon. So if you've got an Amazon Prime account, I guess you can get it, which would cost you nothing. Or you can get it from Sefik, from the website, which is www.sefikempowermentcoaching.co.uk. There's only one of me with that name. You're not hard to find. Alternatively, you can hit me up on DMs on my socials. That sounds very trendy with the kids, my socials, Instagram and Facebook. But yeah, grab yourself a copy. As I always say, if you reach out to me and if you're looking to grab a copy, anybody who buys a copy off the back of a podcast, I give 50% discount to all subsequent one-to-one sessions. So I can't say more than that. Not only is it's £10.99, but you also get 50% off the sessions with me. So yeah, not here to sell anything, but it just might make it a little bit easier. There is a cost of living crisis out there at the moment. I know times are tough, so hopefully that might make a difference, and might just give somebody the push to say, I need to spend an hour and a half with Sefik, and you know, or just let offload to somebody who knows, and then I can basically pinpoint stuff. So yeah, it's all good. It's all good.
And can people contact you? Do you give like a 15 minutes or anything if they want to just give you a little call?
As always, just reach out to me, say, Sefik, I'd like to have a chat with you. And if it's regarding your current situation you're in, there's a half an hour free consultation. It won't cost you a penny. Just give it, and 9 times out of 10, Steph, I will sit there. I'll go, okay, we need longer than that. And off of the back of that, we work through. I'm not a charity, but I'm certainly somebody who knows absolutely that sometimes half an hour isn't enough. And I'm there to listen and to help and to guide. And then thereafter, if you want to see the improvements in yourself, if you want to own that decision, then obviously speaking to somebody on a regular basis. And I always say, I'll just put this out there. I know people have been seeing psychiatrists for 18 months, 2 years, 3 years. Okay. Now, if you can't fix somebody in 18 months, 2 years, 3 years, you're clearly doing something wrong. I'm not here ever to use somebody as a cash cow, to use somebody as, because the business is paying for them to come to see me, that's not me. I want people to come and see me, leave me in 3, 4, 5 sessions going, right, I'm ready to take on the world. And that's my one big bugbear when I have people saying, I've been seeing a psychiatrist for so long. And I'm like, well, what hasn't he been doing? 9 times out of 10, and I'll be there, I might be confrontational, is because they haven't got the lived experience. They don't know how to get through this. They're great with neurological stuff and how things fire and stuff. But if you've got the relatable experience, then straight away you have that rapport with the coach.
Yeah, and I think that's super important, and I think that's where that half an hour is super important, is having the right connection. You know, different people are right for different people. Totally. You know, so having that half an hour, you know, do we connect? Is it right? Can I open up in front of this person? Because there's a lot of opening up to do, and that's, you know, that needs to be a safe and comfortable place.
Absolutely. Yeah. We're no different from our children. We've got to have that reassurance, that nurturing, that comfort. You know, I wouldn't want my kids to speak to anybody. I need to know that there is that relationship there, and that trust. Trust is key, because things we're going to talk about potentially are going to be challenging. So if you don't trust that individual with information, then how on earth are you going to just let it all come out so I can piece it together? But the mind isn't that complex. It's just sometimes we need just to offload, download, and go right.
Yeah. And the bit that's hidden as well, because there's the bit that we know, and then there's the subconscious mind as well, which
absolutely.
Yeah. Oh, Sefik, it's been amazing to have you on today. Thank you so much. I will put all the details in the comments underneath, so it's easy for everybody to get hold of you.
Yeah.
If you like what makes you shine, please subscribe to my channel, and I'm going to have lots more people who help others find their shine. So thank you everybody for listening. Thank you, Sefik, for being with me today.
Thank you. Lots of love.
And thank you for everything that you do.
Take care.
Bye. Have a lovely day.
Bye.
Bye.